Hi, everyone. Thank you for attending our session. So today we are going to discuss about mobile botnet and how we uncovered it and how the cyber criminals are taking advantage of it by monetizing. And we are also going to present how the mobile supply chain attacks takes role in propelling the manifestation of this cybercrime business model. So we have been researching this for the past months. We are still continue monitoring it, and it's because of my fellow co-researchers, namely Zhengyu, our mobile threat analyst from China, and then forward-looking threat researchers, namely Fyodor, Ryan, and Vladimir. Also, thanks for our editors, headed by Abigail. And so, yeah, our session for today is about this firmware supply chain. If you attended yesterday, it's about how they, the complexity in how they solve the issue on the vulnerabilities. But on our side, it's about the cyber criminals are, embedding this or deliberately embedding this malicious loaders. So, our agenda briefly discuss the history of mobile supply chain attacks, some of the notable incidents with pre-installed malware purchased that were reported. We then delve into the Lemon Group. So these are responsible for the mobile botnet. We say that they are Chinese-speaking individuals. Then how they monetize the services using the SMS service and proxy service. Of course, implications, impact, conclusion, and some recommendations how to stay protected. Right, so terms which I will be using interchangeably during the presentation. So as cited online in mobile industry, OEM stands for original equipment manufacturer. So these are the companies who have their own factories, who manufacture phones, but for example, the LG and Samsung. And then ODM are original design manufacturer. Also, they have the factories and they manufacture phones usually in bulk manner. When OEM started to manufacture phone, they will embed the basic Android OS, then they will hand over the system image to the third-party vendors, and so they will provide additional features in the software. After doing so, they will revert it back to the OEM, and so OEM can prepare to sell it in market through the retailers. And then when it lands to consumer, it needs an update in the firmware. So firmware is basically the lowest level of software that has direct interaction with the hardware. So firmware is actually called firmware over the air, or ever since the Android was created, OTA was required. And so there's also coined the word software OTA. Phone verified accounts services. This is a security mechanism that is employed by platforms and service providers in order to prevent fake and bot accounts, which can be used for like spam, fake news, and as a means to perpetuate online harm. You can see here the Guerrilla malware. We will discuss it later. And this image flowchart originated from the researcher named Lucas. I hope I pronounced it correctly. So they are from Google. They reported about the Triada malware involved in mobile supply chain attacks. And so we can say that Guerrilla and Triada are both prevalent malware in terms of mobile supply chain attacks, and that they were able to help the OEM to disinfect the phones. So the rise of the growth of the Android market is also the rise in the demand of pre-flashing services in China. The rampant customization of ROM became rampant because we know Android OS is an open source software. And the malware is activated when you purchase the phone, when you boot it. But of course, the antiviruses can detect it, but over and over again. So the only way is to disinfect is to reflash the firmware. Now, the low-cost mobile device company manufacturers, they often mass produce, and so they can also negotiate to some third-party vendors for a cheaper price. And I think that's where the compromise can occur. And so Not to say that the quality assurance may be possibly overlooked because maybe issue in budget, resource, and time. Now, this is the timeline of some notable mobile supply chain incidents. First, we take a look at the silent plug-in. Here you can see that it was in 2011 to 2012. The good news is they got arrested. It was in this news article in China saying mobile phone Trojan stole 20 million of contacts, so that's a lot. So in here, they developed silent plug-in. Infected devices, 400,000, involved by 10 persons and 3 companies. And the crime is illegally obtaining data and making money out of it. So in 2011 to 2012, they developed this plug-in because reflashing is not attractive anymore. And that in mid-2012, they start sending the personal information to the server, and they got discovered. And in 2013, they got arrested. One actor put behind bars for about 3.5 years, $700 to $800 for fine. Well, the thing is, there were 3 companies colluded. One company promoting the App Store. The App Store, Anfeng, is the developer. And then the last company is the Onefeng, providing ROM packages, promote software for developers with a fee. And so they generated a lot of revenue out of the private data. So we also emphasize here law enforcement and the police investigation is possible when crime is committed domestically. And we found the samples. It's not Triada, it's not Guerrilla, but likely a photo update, tampered update. All right, Triada emerged in 2016 as described by Kaspersky modularized mobile Trojan. First case of Triada with OEM is with 2017, which I mentioned earlier from researcher Lucas. They helped the OEM manufacturers to disinfect the phones. And in 2019, Brian Krebs reported about vendor called Yehu or Blazefire. They were able to, I think, say that Triada was embedded in the OEM image. And the Trojanized version of WhatsApp and APK Pure or compromised SDK software. Now, these are examples of thousands of low-cost mobile phones in Africa and with embedded of Triada. The German smartphone manufacturer, their PhotoOpta update server got compromised, and there were malicious loaders while actually downloading a malware. So a sudden installation without notifying the user, and so even you delete the app, it keeps on spawning because of the updated server. So the best way is to disable the update. So we found a company named Redstone, OTA supplier of Gigaset. We found in VirusTotal that some packages detected com.redstone.ota.ui detected as, I think, Guerrilla. And then here is an example of news in 2018, pre-infected malware on white-labeled phone. The idea from switching 3G to 4G is attracted a lot of consumers to buy this phone. You can think of white-labeled phone as being manufactured or sold by retailers with their own branding and logos, but the manufacturer is from third party. So what happened here, they able to retrieve personal information, mobile numbers, and created lots of gaming accounts. Gaming here refers to gambling account. Well, actually, for gambling companies, they would normally give you bonus money. So they were able to monetize on this one. And also to emphasize that they have to check the manufacturer and telecoms in that country, and also to find the national information security standards is being met. This, lastly, is the case of non-smartphone pre-installed with malware. So just the basic functionality, SMS. The police found the main board is sending and receiving SMS and uploading it to the server. And so they estimated 5 million infected devices, 50 million stolen PII, 14 individuals who actually bought the stolen PII. they actually arrested the developer. They arrested the manufacturer of the mainboard in Shenzhen, China. And yeah, pulling the wool means something like the SMS selling fraud out of the sign-in bonuses. Right, so SMS verification, according to FreeBuff, a community of security enthusiasts in China, they were saying that the birth of SMS verification was in 2004 when people wanted to solve the issue on identifying real identity and real names. And so the binding of SMS verification to human is by the use of phone, SIM card, and the human operating it. And in 2010, the banks were the first one to operate, the verification code. Although it's costly, like 5 cents to 10 cents of SMS, still it's very effective in protecting the accounts and secure system. And so the internet companies can complete their KYC or know your customer and also monitor the behavior of the device. Now, the SIM banks or SIM box is a device to aggregate or read SIM cards. So connecting via GSM gateway through IP address to allow communication. So this is heavily used by the SMS PVA companies. So some operators, because this is costly and maintenance is difficult. So some operators found a clever way to generate more numbers, and it's out of the botnet that they're operating. Here, they boasted about like thousands of mobile numbers, high availability, and I think all numbers in almost all countries. So we have encountered this in Facebook page named Receive Code, free SMS verification codes. So if you are looking for free virtual numbers, you would be enticed to try it, but there's a hidden magic behind it. And so like it offers like thousands of numbers in a single day in a single country. You would think that they have this big SIM box, but for free, really. So in that Facebook page is also the Lemon SMS PVA, but this time with a fee. You can top up your credit to use the service. So it was advertised in 2018 in YouTube, and in that Facebook page is in 2020. Yeah, that's topping up the credits. In terms of API, it's actually indicating that you can automate creating bulk accounts. That's perfect for cyber criminals, right? So whether API or UI, the feature is you can request number, you can rent it for about 5 minutes, then you have to release it so others can use it. Actually, you can select country. Then these are the platforms. Well, you can also blacklist the number in case you don't receive OTP, or probably the owner of the device already found a compromise. These are the platforms. Almost all platforms are available. You name it, the WhatsApp, Twitter, that uses the SMS. You can actually include another project if there's a new SMS. But overall, the goal is to get the OTP code. Let's say Lemon customers, they would use proxy, because some platforms, they use geographical location, the phone number, country, should be matching before you can create an account. And we believe they have operating this Dove proxy, and we believe that the IP plugin linked to this is connecting to the CNC server. And we believe that the residential proxy originates from devices coming from connecting to Wi-Fi, and the mobile proxy originates from devices connecting to mobile data. So this is a security implication in authentication of SMS, and it enables cybercriminals to create bulk accounts without worrying the location. While exploring their official website, we found a replica website under the .cn domain. And so this is an important pivoting point, because it led us to several guerrilla malware. And that CN, we think it's staging because it has lesser traffic. Well, the DEX file main functionality is to intercept SMS. Okay, this is the pluggable app designs of Lemon. Design. Infected device, activating pre-installed loader, connecting to CNC server, and then that CNC server will request for some commands from the backend, and then the backend will digest all this the data from the fields to wrap it up, and then create a plugin, and then send it to the device. Well, the Zygote is an Android process being exploited here. The Zygote will request for this data fields to the backend, and then the backend will wrap it up to create an encrypted plugin. That encrypted plugin will be hosted in a URL of the lemon, will be pushed to the device to install it. And an example of it is, let's say, an SMS plugin hooking to the device for intercepting the SMS. And so we found the main plugin responsible for the main execution flow. Proxy plugin, used to open proxy service rather in SOC 5, like retrieving IP address, port, token, and let's say the timeout, because that's the time when they want to set connection to the infected device. They call the CNC server to open proxy connection. Now, the SMS plugin has three main functions. It intercepts the SMS using start hook or using the AMS or activity manager service. They can also retrieve regular expression rules from the CNC server, which they can use to filter out SMS content. And lastly is they can send the SMS to the backend using that regular expression rule. And so that's the SMS plugin. The Lemon SMS PVA and the Dove proxy, we know they're being advertised both in that Facebook page, and it led us to a company in Hainan province in China. And the Lemon SMS PVA will offer numbers in different countries and different platforms, and then the Dove proxy will offer different IP addresses available. For example, Bangladesh has around 122,000 of IP addresses. Okay, SMS PVA and SMS interception, how does it work hand in hand? Let's say a customer would register in Lemon, register the number. Of course, you need to top up to use the service, and then let's say select for a project named Carousel. Carousel is, popular marketplace in Southeast Asia. So in Carousel app, he would register, and when it comes to phone number, he would switch back to Lemon to get the number. Actually, they can also request for the specific country, let's say Singapore, and then they could put it here and then click verify. It will send SMS code, verification code to the infected device. And that device will be called by the Lemon using the Guerrilla malware, and then the Lemon will return the OTP code to the customer of Lemon. And it's successfully created when the Carousel account because of the OTP. In the background, the SMS plugin actually intercepts the SMS, calls the CNC server for regular expression rule. Let's say the condition here is carousel text with 4-digit, and so it will be sent to the server. It's also not being visible to customer because the Guerrilla has capability of preventing the broadcasting of the SMS, and it happens in an infected phone. Right, so we emphasize the different persistence mechanism of mobile supply chain. Before, bad apps, they can download root exploits, and rooted phone can be installed with backdoor for persistence. But here, first, ROM image being compromised or tampered, as I mentioned earlier, Guerrilla or Triada, embedding without notifying the OEM. Second is photo auto update server. Either photo auto update has malicious loader or photo auto has pre-infected ROM image. Example are Redstone, Adopts. They are OTA supplier in China, and they manufacturing are also based in China, actually. And last is a software SDK. Example is an APK Pure. It's an alternative to Google Play, and Kaspersky mentioned that Triada is embedded, and so it exploited the Zygote, let's say, what do you call this? Yeah, the Triada was able to modify the Zygote. Now, this is a sample of forum. Let's say a user reported about his ROM image version 11, and he found out that the SMS in his phone is being intercepted to this domain name. And the ROM image actually came from a Yandex sharing service, and they found out, or they are also reporting or complaining about the infection. Putting it together to show you the cybercrime business model, we know the angle in mobile supply chain attacks, became effective and efficient for cyber criminals. They exploited the Zygote because they created a main plugin. That Zygote will install loader, connect us in the server, retrieve information like IMEI, and then the backend will revert back the plugin based from the strategy. The Zygote also able to modify live Android, which is one of the components of Android OS. Basically, it created a routine to write the .text file to the Dalvik cache directory. And so these are the plugins: the IP proxy plugin for residential and mobile proxy, and then SMS plugin for SMS interception. Both are in the infected device, and this operation or business was around 2018, the Dove proxy and the Lemon SMS PVA service. They attracted more customers to create bulk accounts, and that facilitated or end to some scam or fraud. Right. We now go for implications. SMS default verification, but because they bypass it, the surge of SMS PVA service, there are some implications like anonymity. It's one of the obstacles of cyber criminals. They would create account. That account, because of the SMS PVA service, it's an added arsenal to them. Coordinated inauthentic behavior, it can use to distribute and amplify information, often misinformation, in social media. Abusing sign-in bonuses and app gamification bonuses, they would create a lot of accounts based from the phone numbers, and so that, let's say, coupon codes, promotional codes, they can convert it to the hard cash. And it can also lead to some other scams and fraud, like romance scam, investment scam. I know you can all relate, even me, I received those kind of SMS. Consumer privacy, the infected devices, the owner of it is highly impacted. Their phone numbers may be possibly used by cybercrime, and can also be used as a monitoring tool. Now, circumvent regional restriction. There are some countries like, for example, banning cryptocurrency exchange platforms. So SMS PVA is an option to bypass it. This is an ideal example of abusing sign-in bonus. The Starbucks in China in 2018, they launched a promotion of like, if you create an account using their app, you will receive a free drink for about $5 to $6. And so in the first day of their promotion, the cyber criminals were able to create 400,000 of accounts. And so the Starbucks would notice those ghost accounts, and they immediately halted their promotion. And on the other side, you can see the phone numbers generated from the Lemon Group. Those numbers, using social links, we were able to get the social media linkages on a real-time basis. 2 Telegram accounts with same photo. Actually, the photo is from an online shopping site, so it's a model. And one is in Chinese name, one is in Russian name. Definitely, this is a fake account. We also found numbers linked to, let's say, the country code matches the social media, the nationality, but then there's another account with different nationality. So that's also a red flag. This is a project list of Lemon SMS Botnet. You can find it in their URL parameters. So we could estimate about thousands of regular expression rule, or the number of target platforms. There are some platforms that are recurring, like WeChat, but I think it's because the SMS, if it changed a bit, then they will add. Line had the highest. I would say maybe Line is not widely used, but any phone numbers can be used to register in Line. And this is from Trend Micro telemetry data from October 2021 to March of 2022. It's another example of fraud, the Qingdong. It's an e-commerce site. They offered gift package and shipping coupons when you register or for the newcomers. Here, using same telemetry data from Trend Micro, Thailand had the highest. Well, Qingdong is also based in that country, perfect for cyber criminals, and it could also indicate that there may be possibly more infected devices. Surprisingly, the second one is Mexico. We know Qingdong is not being used in that country, and the user in that country would not notice the fraud because they don't know this app. And that's how the cyber criminals take advantage of it. These are the phone numbers generated by Lemon for OTP requests, still from Trend Microdata. The Southeast Asia countries and India had highly impacted. We could say that these countries are possibly impacted with the mobile supply chain attacks, or that some countries are lenient in provisioning SIM cards. This is an example of examination from police. In Chowting, Internet Police discovered that the fraudsters are exploiting the loophole in online e-commerce platforms like Taobao, Jingdong, and Douyin. So an example is the Jingdong. They bypassed the real name verification. In that case, they were able to buy phone numbers and real names from what we call card holders. So that is someone who owns a lot of SIM cards. And that's from the examination. And why a lot of devices here? Of course, for creating bulk accounts. I think, for example, in WhatsApp, you can create account without phone number, like using the API, but it has a high tendency to be disabled because of that. So that's why there's a lot of phone. Right. As I mentioned earlier, you can top up service credits using their cryptocurrency wallets. So we were able to trace it. Tron wallet had like 13,000 of detections. Sorry, transactions. And from that, we could estimate, like, let's say once a month you have to top up your credit. So we could estimate about 2,000 of customer. But they also have other wallet like Bitcoin. So we could sum it up to around 660,000 of US dollars. But there's also like the Alipay and others. Country statistics-wise, Lemon provides daily numbers available, phone numbers, like in their free receive code and the Lemon official. You can see the commonalities, right? Mostly Southeast Asia countries. And it also matches with telemetry data. Like we found Indonesia and Thailand with highly or most attempts of, let's say, mobile supply chain or Guerrilla in those devices. We also found the affected devices. In our research paper, we put some of the phone brands and models, but this is only to say that they're mostly attempts of mobile supply chain attack and guerrilla malware. And we found that, of course, the main targets are the low-cost mobile phones. Right, so we come up with the conclusion. So we have seen the evolution of mobile supply chain attacks, and it still happens to some of the OEM companies. We emphasize the different persistence mechanism, compromising or tampering the ROM image, photo of the update server, and the software SDK. Here, we can give a recommendation for the OEM, let's say, to know their vendors, to establish assurance by performing strong evaluation on the apps, on the image, especially on the loaders embedded. Anonymity is the main, OPSEC of cybercriminals. They could create, because of this SMS PVA service, it spices up their arsenal. And the implication on security authentication of SMS is also saying that this is, let's say, a million of devices could be possibly impacted because of this. And this evolving cybercrime business model, from click fraud to pre-installed malware or the silent loader, is becoming, let the cybercriminals to thrive, to survive because of their persistence mechanism. And it can also lead to data exfiltration, to identity theft when they, let's say, hijack authentication cookies. So they can impersonate and hide their identity. And that's silent loader. I skip on the security model. I was trying to say that, they are trying to exploit the behavior-based security model. For example, there's a social media has been active for several years, and that suddenly a new account is linked because of same number. So that new account is preferred over anonymous or random account. And if that new account is used by cyber criminals, it can baffle police investigation, challenge in identifying the real identities, and adding confidence to cyber criminals because they can minimize their online footprints. They're abusing it. So with that, phone is becoming our real identity. However, there are still some caveats, and it continues to reshape the threat landscape and security model. And so we have here some countermeasures that we mentioned for online platform services. Use of one-time SMS is not enough anymore. Be cautious when launching sign-in. And for smartphone vendors, ensure provenance, trust to the third-party vendors. For consumers, always consider security when purchasing phones. So I don't have to delve or mention one by one. This is available in our research paper published in February. So you can visit trendmicro.com for that. And I think that's all for my presentation for today. And yeah, we are now open for question and answer. And my co-speakers, Zhengyu and Vladimir is on the line, can also answer your questions. So yeah, any question, guys?
All right. There's a question from the virtual audience. How could a consumer protect ourselves with these evolving cybercrimes related to SMS?
How this cybercrime, can you repeat again, sorry?
How could a consumer protect ourselves with these evolving cybercrimes related to SMS?
Right. First of all is, of course, you need to install security software in your mobile phone. And second is to, well, it's a challenge, but they have to carefully check their phone number is connected to only to those social medias that they have. And to say that the phone that is usually infected from mobile supply chain attacks are low-cost mobile. I'm not saying that don't use low-cost mobile phones, but there are some, well, as reported from the news, they are highly targeted because of the, I think, maybe poor implementation of security mechanisms. So, always secure your device. Be wary also of, I'm not sure if Chrome Images is available now, but always check the account is linked to your account in social media, that phone number. And so yeah, I hope I answered it correctly.